What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Two Gents Fireside Chat. We're making history tonight. Aaron Frazier, Joey Quinones. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off when they join. Joey Quinones in the building. John Lowe, I see ya. Appreciate everybody joining on the line. Designer Dreams in the house. I see everybody. Marley's in the building. Vinyl gone viral. I see all y'all. SK Brandon in the building. Mike Greedo in the building. Appreciate y'all. We got 27 on the line. Joey, how are you?
Pretty good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, of course.
Give it a couple minutes. Everybody's hopping on the live right now.
I brought water this time. I'm not going to make the same mistake I did with Universal Soul Groove, man.
All good, my man. All good. All right. It looks like Aaron Frazier's in the building.
East Los.
Johnny Ruiz. Aaron, how are you?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. What's up, Joe?
What's up, man?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
So I see we got about 75 on the line. If you gentlemen are ready, I'll go ahead and kick things off.
Right on.
Let her rip.
All right. I want to welcome everybody to Two Gents Fireside Chats. I go by the name of Waxvillain. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews, however, they're slightly different. We do a little extra research to make sure we're not duplicating efforts, but most importantly, we want to make sure that we're supporting and strengthening other existing articles and interviews out there. Tonight, I've chosen a panel format for our interview. We got plenty of questions. We got the lightning round. Usually, I give you all a timer, but you can't put a time on greatness, so we're going to let this ride. Before we kick things off, I want to just say a couple of thank yous real quick. I want to shout out Hopi714. Dee blessed me with the custom Waxvillain t-shirt. I want to shout out my brother from Seattle, Lucky Brown. He gave me perms to play the song Glancing Meteors in the beginning. And most importantly, big thanks to my sis, Jess Lipsky. She helped me organize my thoughts in preparation for this. Thank you so much. Everyone go out and check her new book, It Ain't Retro, Daptone, 21st Century Soul Revolution. All right. Now, you know, folks, one of the questions that Jess had asked me, she said, why Aaron? Why Joey together? And my immediate response was, why not? Everyone loves Aaron and Joey. But I reflected on it later that night, and it made me think about the 100 live streams that we had done. And whether it was Gem Droppin', which was a sample-based show focused on funk and soul records, 2 Grams Vinyl Champs with Jimmy Soul Radio, or The Vault with Mike Noriega, where he focused on rare soul and celebrating legendary collectors. Two Gents Fireside Chat has become a pit stop for independent soul and funk musicians. And all the whole time while I've been setting the stage, these were designed to bring us together so that we would be able to meet each other, to network, to learn and explore indie musicians and music that we love most. When I think about everything, you know, I have really big dreams and visions of what the soul scene could be. And when you believe like I do, when you care as much as I do, you actually believe that you can make a difference, even as a fan, pushing that needle forward, helping to. And so when I thought about why Aaron, why Joey, it kind of comes down to this. I've invited 2 of the most celebrated independent soul musicians on our scene and quite possibly of our time to sit down with me for a fireside chat for the first time ever, and to do it for the culture, the community, everyone that's been following and supporting all this time. You know, when you care like I do and you believe, you're willing to give everything to it, even if you might not be able to see it manifest. So I hope everyone will help me welcome Aaron Frazier and Joey Quinones to Two Gents Fireside Chat. Welcome, gents.
Cheers, man. Well, it's
Dang.
it's a beautiful intro.
Yeah.
I really appreciate y'all being here. This is awesome. So my first question, I'd love to know what y'all thought when you saw the message from me, an invitation to Two Gents Fireside Chat, most importantly, knowing that each of you would be here.
You got it, Joe.
I mean, initially I was just like, oh, I mean, I'm always honored to do any type of interview, anything in source to put shine a little bit light on the scene and stuff and what's going on over here and stuff. But I was just surprised that it's just that I was kind of looking at and held in such a regard as you are making out as to be. So that's really cool. Really cool. It makes us feel like rock stars. It's cool. So I very appreciate it very much.
Very cool.
Yeah, man. It's funny as much as I see people like Joey and other artists like on Instagram and stuff, because we're on the road all the time and because I'm out here in Brooklyn and so much of it is kind of on the West Coast, I don't actually get to see, have conversations like, in real time with people. So I was excited because, I'm not just a label mate of Joey and the Sinceres, but also definitely a fan. So I was excited.
Very cool. Very cool. When, we look back on childhood, what are the milestone moments that stand out to you, that really kind of defined your love for music that you have today?
For me, like my first record, I remember I don't know, being really drawn to is my mom used to play Tapestry by Carole King like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, like I still come back to that's 50 years this year of Tapestry, like since it's been released, and I definitely still come back to that record as like a compass as to like just like song craft, the way she's able to structure stuff and write a hook is like she's one of the best to ever do it. So
very cool.
Yeah, I think for me, like as a kid, my parents split up when I was about 7, so we would split weekends. I'd go to my dad's, go to my mom's every other weekend, stuff like that. But my dad was in a car club. He's been in a car club since '71. Since he's been in high school. So, I remember being like bored, just being dragged to these car shows on the weekends because that's what, he was bringing his family around, but also he had, he was a president of this car club, so he had to like, he had to go around and like get these meetings going and these shows together and get all this money to fundraise and stuff like that. But like I remember just the music just always remaining the same, like always Motown, it was always war. So it was kind of like those two kind of like elements kind of always kind of just were familiar to me, whether it was listening to and writing Rocksteady or anything else like that. It was just always those kind of two, Motown and war, that Chicano sound, brown sound, if they call it, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, on Universal Groove, I think I had seen something that said your dad would always play the same song when you would kind of enter the car show. What was the song?
His song was "You're Still a Young Man."
Yeah. Okay, very cool.
Yeah,
very
so
cool.
Good. Such a good one.
Lowrider car culture is very significant to both of you. I was wondering if you'd be able to tell us exactly what it is and why it's so important to your music.
I think, going back, like I said, my dad, he's always been a part of it, and he always used to bring us around, and it was kind of, for me, it was more about, it was kind of cool to look up to him because he was like I said, he was a president at the time, so he was in charge of all these guys, getting them together and organizing these events and stuff like that, and making sure that everybody's representing the colors right and stuff like that. So I've always kind of like, looking back, I've always kind of realized that that's kind of use those kind of mentalities for the band stuff, to always kind of come up in suits, represent yourself good. And,
that's interesting. Yeah.
So looking back now, I'm realizing now that's why I like doing these interviews, because it's like they open up my mind like that. But I think just being always a part of that was just part of the family and just part of the culture of being a part of the culture was, a way of, spending family time with my family, my dad.
I love that.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I mean, you know, coming up in the Mid-Atlantic, um, there wasn't as strong like a car culture. I guess you could still find it in like Jersey, but for me, it was much later. It wasn't until we put out like the first Indications record
Mm-hmm.
that I really like got in touch with like the lowrider like communities. Um, we were just messing around in the basement, and I think like uh, since there was no live audience, we wound up writing music that was a lot slower
Mm,
than like a daptone act like like Charles Bradley, who came up
right.
for how many decades doing Black Velvet, doing James Brown covers and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a happy accident, that the
Mm,
music we were doing was like um, resonating with this other community. So yeah, I mean that's been one of the great honors of my whole career, is getting to know those communities up the coast, and being welcomed into those spaces.
I love that. That's great. I want to transition to evolution as a musician. Joey, can you talk to us about your transition from rock steady to the soul scene and kind of what you remember, about that period of life?
I think,
Deep in thought.
Uh-oh. This always gets me nervous.
a little
I hear
frozen
you.
there for a second.
No worries, brother. Oof. Joey, if
I,
you can hear us, maybe come back and join. Keep flowing, baby. Oh. All right, Aaron, while we're waiting for okay. Yeah, he's gonna come back. Ah, Joey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's kind of,
Okay,
I
buddy.
think I'm back.
All right. So I don't know if you heard the question. I wanted to move on to evolution as a musician, and I'd love it if you could tell us about your transition from rocksteady to soul and what you remember about those chapters of life.
You know what? I remember coming off of 2 years straight, like, and at that time, I mean, having nothing to do in the van,
Mm,
ideas and songs.
okay. Very
that
cool.
that's honestly that's impressive to me, man. Because when I'm on the road, I feel like in between shows, I'm just like uh I'm like a zombie, man. I'm so tired
Sorry, I
between
think I'm cutting
shows.
off
So
again.
that's awesome that he was finding some time to write lyrics, man. It's cool.
Yeah, that is wild. Aaron, if
All
you
right,
could
sorry. All
describe the
right.
moment that you kind of discovered the falsetto, what it felt like, what you were thinking, and how it was received by the people that heard it first.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it was really by accident. Like so much of this is just like is by accident, but it's like I had written "Is It Any Wonder." I was doing like I don't really love being in large crowds, honestly. So like
Okay.
when I was living in Indiana, a lot of times on Friday nights, instead of like going out, I'd like stay in and try to write songs in different styles, because I love lots of different kinds of music. So yeah, so that Friday I was working on like a soul joint, and I wrote it, and it was "Isn't Any Wonder," and I sang it in like my full chest voice, and I listened back and was just like, this is like not good, but I felt like Duran, could do it justice. So I was like, all right, let's recut it, and then Duran can sing lead. So Blake and I laid down the track, and I laid down some scratch vocals, uh, and I was feeling, you know, very relaxed, just laying back on the couch. And because I was kind of laying down, I wasn't singing from like, you know, my diaphragm with the full chest. I was just kind of like in this very low key way, just singing from my head voice, and that's what came out. And so on the studio recording of Is It Any Wonder, that is like the first time I had tried singing in that style. That's what came out. And we listened back to it. We were like, yeah, there's something actually. This is vibey. So we left it, and I'm really thankful. I mean, as somebody who, as I'm sure a lot of people in here, you know, can relate, like hearing my own voice back gives always, there's some dissonance, right? There's some like nails on the chalkboard. Like I can't get that out of here. But with the falsetto, you know, I think it was far enough removed from my own voice that for some reason I was just like my speaking voice, that I was like, okay, this is cool. This feels like it's own thing, and I could kind of embrace it for what it was. So yeah.
Wow, that's wild. You know, it's funny when you said lying down. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I just want to say, like, that's moments like that are the exact reason why I wanted to have a studio, you know, because those moments are few and far between, and like when you capture it, it's such a beautiful thing, you know. And,
yeah,
you know,
I love that.
Thank the forces for that happening, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, no kidding. When you said lying down, I immediately thought of this music video of Marvin Gaye laying down with his hand on his head, and he just natural, right? So that's really cool.
Another drummer turned singer.
Yeah. What a trip. What a trip. So you guys start out, you know, playing in backyards, very small crowds, making music without physical releases, not backed by a label. At what point did it feel like you made it, like you were getting the recognition that you had hoped for or thought that you would get at some point in career? Can you talk to us about that?
I think the first gig I ever showed up and they had catering, when I was like, you know, it's like, oh, I guess we made it, you know? No, no, I mean, just, you know, just going overseas, you know, going to Mexico,
Wow.
you know, or going to France, and, you know, seeing people singing the songs, you know, like it was just such a weird thing, because it's just a trip, you know, seeing people sing the songs, and, you know, sometimes you don't even have to sing, you know. And it's just, you know, people want to feel connected to it, and they know the songs, lyric, and it's, for me, that's always one of the moments that I was like, wow, like something I wrote in my underwear in my bedroom, people are singing at the top of their lungs in this room, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's so real, Joe. Like, just what you're saying about like those early gigs, like making it is such a relative concept. You know, there is no threshold where you're like, okay, now, like, I mean, I guess you could draw one and be like, okay, that's it, you know, for the rest of my career. But I think for most people, kind of in this, on this kind of journey, it's sort of like it's shifting, you know, and it's nice to be reminded of that. I had a friend. I deleted my Facebook at this point, but I had a friend send me a while back on Facebook. Was like, I went to message you and I saw the last message you sent me, which was from like several years ago. And I was, you know, my friend was asking me what was going on with the band, and I had sent him like, yeah, we're gonna play as many shows as we can this summer. If I can travel around and see the country and not lose money, I'll be happy. Like that's what I said straight up, you know, and it was just this beautiful thing to you know, be reminded that these goals shift, and you know, if one day you're kind of striving for something else and you might be feeling unsatisfied, to like yeah, just it's just a nice reminder that I'm super lucky to be doing this, and it's like it's all gravy, man. It's all gravy at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. How has life changed since like the big records? Can you go out without people noticing you? What's different?
Depends on the neighborhood, I think. You know, I mean, in New York, it's like it's part of New York culture to basically like not really talk to somebody that you recognize out. Like if I'm riding the subway, and like one time I was sitting across from Michael Cera, the actor, and it's like,
okay,
but I'm not gonna like say anything, because that's New York culture, is like you give everybody their space because we're all jammed together so close
Mhm.
that actually like being polite in New York is like minding your business. Whereas like in LA and San Diego and San Antonio, you know, Bay Area, like places like that, you know, somebody might shout me out if they saw me.
Okay. Joey, how
Yeah,
about you?
that's definitely it's definitely I feel that, you know, especially on the West Coast at least, you know, it's very loud thing. Like, hey, you know, isn't that, you know, like shouting you out. And it's such a weird thing because, you know, like for me, my dad's friends are, you know, telling him, you know, like, hey, have you heard of this kid? His name's, you know, he has the same last name as you. His name's Joey Quinones, you know? And he's like, yeah, I've heard of him. For the past 32 years, I've heard of him, you know? You know, so that's the trip thing for me is like seeing like my dad's friends, you know, kind of dive into the music and, you know, recognize me. And, you know, they kind of people that I remember seeing, you know, like at the car show, setting up the cars, like, you know, are fans of mine at my shows now. So it's a really, it's a big trip. It's funny.
That's very cool. Now, as far as I know, you guys have never been in the recording studio together, but I know you're fans of each other. I'd love to know, Joey, tell me a favorite Aaron song, and Aaron, I'd love to know what your favorite Joey song is.
You know, I have a funny story about the song is "My God Is a Telephone." I love the Flying Stars. You know that tells.
Yeah.
You know, the simplicity of for one, the simplicity of the instrumentation for me is like what makes it so special to me. And you know, I remember making a playlist because, you know, I remember when I made the decision, like I'm gonna start a little studio in my bedroom. I don't care. You know, I'm gonna buy some old mics and I'm gonna get the tape machine going. Finally, gonna learn how to do it. And you know, and I made a playlist because I was gonna buy a tape machine out in Boston. You know, because I had seen it, went on tour, whatever, with the band. We couldn't bring it back, so I worked out a deal with this lady that I was gonna buy it, pay it off, fly over there, rent a car and drive it back, you know. And I was gonna take two of my homies. I was gonna take who were just homies at the time, just Paco and Esteban, which is you know, my guitar player for the Sinceres. And we were gonna do bust a little mission out there, and I was gonna take a drummer too, and we were gonna stop in our friends' towns and make a record, you know. And then I made a playlist, you know. It was 388 is what I named it, and that was like it was like pretty much the A and B side of that record, and then like maybe like a Grease. I think it was like the Grip Sweats. It was the Grip Sweats too.
Yes. Yeah, I love
So
the
like,
Sweat.
you know, it was just those three. It was just those three tunes, like on repeat. The whole, you know, that was my idea. We're gonna listen to these tunes all the way back, and I'm gonna inspire these guys in the car. And
Wow.
we're gonna make a record like this. You know, Comine's gonna dig it, and they're gonna, you know, that's it. It's over, you know. So that was my plan. So that I have a good memory of that tune for sure.
That is so real to take a disc with 3 songs on it in the car.
Oh, yeah.
That's love. That's love.
Oh yeah. That's why I'd be the
cool,
worst
man.
DJ, Max. I just play the same ones over and over.
Oh man, that's beautiful, man. Yeah. First of all, I feel like the first time I heard you again was through, I think you were like going live on on Facebook. You would just like set up your cam and just like in the studio, and it was really fun to watch you work. I guess at that time it was slightly more built out in Endeavor, but like you were working on, I guess, probably some rock steady stuff at the time. Yeah, and I was like, damn, this dude's legit. Like he's got it. But yeah, I think my favorite Joey song is What's His Name. I think it's in that Smokey Robinson school of songwriting that it's just like it takes this concept that so many of us have felt, you know, like jealousy. It's very human.
Yeah.
And it's I just think that's and vulnerable to also be able to write about that and put yourself, kind of create this narrator who isn't perfect. But I think in that way it can reach even deeper into people's lives because, like, you know, who among us hasn't been there. But I also want to shout out also The Only One, the production you did with Trish Toledo, or Trish Killa. Yeah, I love how that turned out. I love the stack of flute and trumpet. I think that's sick. And I'm just excited. You know, Trish has a contemporary, like a kind of contemporary sounding voice a little bit, and so that puts her own spin on like the new schools or on the old school stuff. And then when you combine it with the JQ production, it's
Hmm.
right on the money. I love that one.
I love that. Yeah,
Cheers.
no, that's true.
Did that.
So let's transition to studio versus the road. They say the magic happens in the studio, but there's got to be something said about performing in front of a live audience, hearing them sing your songs, and kind of touch you a little bit. What do you prefer? Where are you most comfortable, and why?
I'm a hermit, so I think I'm more of a studio guy. But you know, like I said, I don't want to say it was a traumatizing experience, but you know, I think I've got to experience the road very much. My last group, you know, we kind of burned us out. I feel like in a way, you know, because we played every town and you know, just we were just on the road and stuff. So I think it's important to balance it for sure. You know, because sometimes I'm you know here at home all the time. It's like, man, I can't wait to play some shows. And, you know, I can't wait to have to go. And I used to hate flying. You know, I used to be terrified of it. And now I'm like, I have all the in and outs. Now I go to this line, go to that line. I know where to go. So it's a funny thing where you have to like, you know, you get used to something. And you know, for sure. I mean, my day job is in the studio, so I'm pretty much comfortable here. But I do like going in the road, and I love going to the East Coast for sure, man. It's like we don't get to go out there enough as the Sins here, so I would love to, you know, go out there and kind of link up with Aaron out there for sure. But I'm gonna say a nice balance of both.
I love it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, man. I mean, and what you're saying about being on the road, it is so easy to get burned out. And I think you know, right now the kind of soul scene is very much studio oriented. There's not a ton of bands who are getting out there and really seeing every corner of the US. And so I think in general, a lot of people don't understand just how grueling touring can be, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, even when it's like you're probably in your band because you're also really good friends. So it's like even when you're traveling with your great pals, it can still be extremely challenging, and has been a process for the indications over the years to figure out how to tour in a healthy way, um, again, physically, emotionally, spiritually,
Yeah.
um, and how to do it like sustainably. Um, and I think you're totally right, man. Like, you know, finding some time, you have to protect the spark. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why you got on the road in the first place. And then you go into this vortex, this thresher, and you have to find some time to keep that thing alive. I mean, when I'm on the road, I'm not listening to that much music because it's sensory overload. You know,
Sure.
there's just a lot going on, and you're sleep deprived, and so yeah, you know, when we want to stopping touring when the pandemic started, that was a very scary time, but also was a time for me to kind of nurture that flame again, nurture that spark, dig into listening in a way that I hadn't in a while. Um, you know, kind of discover some new inspirations, whether that be music or books or film or whatever. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Is there a best practice or something that you always do when you're on the road, Aaron?
Dude, so much water.
Okay.
I don't drink really on the road.
Hmm.
I stopped smoking a long time ago.
Okay.
Because there's no time to recover. So however you are is how you're gonna continue. And so if you wake up
Wow.
hungover, that the rest of the tour you're probably just feeling a little shittier than you did the next day. And the other thing I will say is to find time with your bandmates to check in alone,
Okay.
like one on one, just to be like, yo, how's everything going? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Like how's it going? You know, because you don't get a lot of that time, private time, to talk about stuff, to communicate if there's a conflict, to see it through. So that's my recommendation to bands: is drink a lot of water and find some one-on-one time.
I love that. I love that. Now, we've been touring for a long time, a lot of music made. is there a story that stands out in your mind, something that you always think about, whether it's funny or maybe it's a, wow, I can't believe that happened. Maybe it's something, you experienced with fans. Is there a story that you can share with us between studio or touring?
A lot of them come to mind for sure. My guitar player, I'm going to shout out Joe Nieves from the Steady 45s because, he was like our band manager slash rhythm guitar player. And he always had these like very, I mean, we all came from this like punk rock kind of school kind of thought, so he was in a touring punk band and they went throughout Europe and they were always on the road. So he's the one who kind of always put us on the road. But he always had these like little hacks and, these little tour hacks, you say like, oh, pull into this parking lot right here, you could sleep all night, and then blah, 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 and this and that. But he would always find the best way, whether it was to get us like cheaper drinks or a free place to stay. And the one that sticks out to me the most is like, we were in San Francisco and we had this show and we had to drive, I don't know what the next town was, but we had a show in San Francisco and we didn't have a place to stay, so we're gonna figure it out. Okay, whatever. But it's very, very expensive in the city, of course, especially on a Friday, Saturday night. So the venue, it was a bar, and on top of it, there was like a little like. So he had gone up to the second floor of the venue, through the fire escape, and like got into some room after our set, and he had left the door open, and he had found out that like if you close the door, then it triggers them that they know somebody's in the room. So he got us all into there through that front door. We all walked into the front door and we all slept there for free in the entire night. And like, just, I just remember like just not being able to sleep, just looking at the door, like we're gonna get caught. And like, everybody showered. We got fresh pillows and blankets and we were out, Nobody was supposed about it. So it was just like these little funny things that he would do. I was like, think back, like, how did we get away with that? Like, how did that happen? But
that's wild.
That's me.
Wow.
That's funny. I guess on the road, the first one that comes to mind is, I think we were playing Dallas, and we left the show. Some people like had stuck around to wait till we loaded out, so that we could like say goodbye and take pictures and sign stuff, and we did. And then so we finished loading up, we take off, and maybe like 2 minutes later there's a car behind us that's like flashing their lights and honking their horns, and we're like, why is somebody like mess with us, whatever. And then we're like, maybe it's like fans again. And then we look and they pull up alongside of us, and it's those same fans holding our suitcases out the window, being like, yo, your trailer's open. Somebody forgot to lock it, and we were just like spilling stuff down, whatever, Deep Ellum Boulevard or wherever we are in Dallas. And we pulled over and, we collected our stuff from the street and from what they had in the car. And we took some more pictures. They thought it was real funny. We were like shell shocked, and so they're like smiling, and we're all like, "What the fuck?" And yeah, but I'll give you one more from the studio from Private Space.
Okay.
So we have a song on there called "With You." That's like, I don't know. It's like our banger on the record. And we were in a cabin upstate New York working on the record, and it was like snowing out, and just some actual private space to ourselves like we hadn't had in years, and we weren't on the clock, in the studio in the same way. And anyway, we wanted to hit the chorus and have this open hi-hat sound, and so we tried a couple different ways, but we couldn't quite get it right. And so I was like up on the mic talking to Blake, who was at the laptop, and I was like, "Nah, I just want to sound like," and we both like looked at each other, and we were like, "Just do that into the mic. Just make mouth sounds into the microphone." And this makes me laugh to think about it. That it's just like after all these years, after all being I don't know, being in fancy studios and touring all over the world, it's like still the answer was just like do the dumbest possible, like simplest possible solution. And yeah, it felt like very connected to just being back home in Indiana, you know, in the basement on our first record.
Wow. Very cool.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about recording your best work. I'd love it if you could kind of reflect back, big body of work. What song or album are you most proud of and why?
I put out a record with 45s, which was the full length that I was actually be a part of before I left the band. And it was just such a big, for me, it was a big project because, you know, I wrote the entire thing as far as lyrics and stuff like that. And, you know, I was able to have these little one-on-one moments with the band members when they come into the studio and record them. You know, so it was kind of cool to like nerd out with everybody and, you know, not having the pressure of all of us having to nail it and stuff. And that was the first time we kind of made a record like that, you know, because, you know, for traditional ska rock city, you have to have that big room, you have to play all together, you know, but we were trying to mimic that with, you know, with putting mics in different rooms and, you know, making it sound like we were further away and stuff like that. But I think that was, you know, I have a lot of good memories of that record because I spent so much time, you know, recording it and writing it and mixing it and, you know, doing all the sessions with everybody, like one-on-one. It was just like such a big project that, you know, sometimes like I don't even want to hear it because it's, you know, I could still hear it, you know, ringing and stuff like that. So that was a good one. And that one and you know, the Barrio Joyride record for me was a big one because, you know, it got a lot of good responses from, you know, it was a musician's record, as I like to put it, because, you know, it didn't have singing on it or great lyrics, and it was just kind of like jamming and, you know, putting that together was just kind of like trying to put together like a little bit of a movie with like soundscapes and music tracks and stuff like that. So I think those two kind of stick out for sure. So Saucy Horn, Barrio Joyride, and Trouble in Paradise by the Steady 45s.
Yeah, great work, great work.
Yeah, I love those. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess in a similar way, Joe, is like the 45s joint. You know, My God Has a Telephone. I did it in my living room. And you know, the guitar amp is in the bathroom, and it was just done. It was just done because I had this bass line. I had that in my head for like a year and a half. I was just
Oh
like,
my God.
what? I was like, what is this? Like, and it was just done. It was just done to get something out, and also to just get together with my friends and do it, you know, basement style, like I was doing with the fellas in Indiana. And I am very proud of that record, and like, you know, how far that's reached with just basically the click of a button, just being like, publish, like share this on to Spotify. And it's just, I don't know, it always makes me laugh, just to see how many people have heard that. And I also think, you know, Morning in America off American Love Call, is one that I'm really proud of.
Okay.
You know, I wrote those lyrics, and they came, just trying to process the feelings of kind of flying into the storm that, was, you know, the Trump administration. And, you know, it felt like a time where we were getting increasingly divided. And I wanted to write a song that sort of acknowledged those divisions, but maybe had some glimmer of hope at the end. And so, yeah, I'm proud of that one.
Very cool. Now, with all this music being made, I think, you know, the environment is important. Could you tell us what it looks like, the perfect studio environment that you prefer to be in, where you've kind of really just vibed and been able to make good music?
I mean, for me, you know, you have your go-to guys, you know, that you always want to bring around. And I think it's just, you know, we just, especially with the Sinceres, you know, we've all the guys have been kind of been playing with everybody around and in the sessions with everybody else and stuff. So we just kind of, we work together so well. And it's kind of, especially in this, so cliche to say, it's like the Motown thing, you know, you have your unit of guys, but it really is because, you know, like really, like, you know, there's some of these guys. I played in a band with my bass player since I was 13 years old, you know, and he's, you know, he's always kind of been my, like, you know, when I think of a bass player, I think of him because he's just always been on that kind of spacing. And I've been a bass player as well, you know, so, and that's, so he's always kind of been the go-to. And so I'd say my bass guy, Chris, is there for sure. And then, of course, I got to have Paco there because Paco is always there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just, you know, just shout out to, you know, Los Hermanos Flores.
Yeah.
So he's got to be there because he's such, you know, and anybody who's that like enthusiastic to get the session going and get, you know, ideas out, and just such a funny guy to have around, and to be like, you know, positive energy around it, you know. He's always got to be there, always on guitar for sure, and he's kind of like the guy who always I could trust that he knows how I would play the guitar part if I was there, because always I'm kind of either on the board or on the keys, and or like, you know, whatever. You know, so he always holds down the guitar like that. So I think those two guys mainly, and my drummer, of course, Luis, you know, those guys always have to be there for me. And just, you know, I got to have my drummer have, you know, a couple beers in, you know, he's got to be a little loose. He's going to be good, you know. I got to have my bass player feeling good. I got to have him fed, you know, so make sure he's good and ready to go. So it's just, you know, those little conditions like that. But I think the most important thing, of course, is, and again, as cliche as it sounds, like the idea, you know. As long as the idea is there, the ideal situation. If there's a reason to go into the studio, you know, you need to get in there, because, you know, you don't want to just have all these people and build up this budget of musicians coming in and putting in their work when there's no ideas there. And, you know, you can't always rely on a jam session to turn into a tune like that. So I think it's important to have like a goal at least, or an intention to go in there and kind of get something done, or a really good idea that everybody's behind. And that's why I like the escapers, because they come in and, you know, I put on a old Roland Alfonso rock steady tune, and, you know, Johnny just started writing lyrics and going crazy at it, and we were just like off to the races. Right, we got a tune, like whatever we were gonna do originally, putting it aside because we're hot on this. Let's finish this, you know.
I love that. Do it with intention. That's great.
Yeah, that's cool. And I feel like also like making time for when you have those ideas, even like pre-studio, to like just record a quick voice memo or like a quick demo or something, because like, man, as quickly as they come, they can go. And there are definitely times where I'm like, wait, what was that? Like, that was kind of hot. Like, what? And then it's just like, it's just gone because you didn't catch it. Yeah, for me, I don't know, man. You know, I'm with Joey. I think like, I don't think the studio has to be super nice. Honestly, when it's like too nice, it's kind of weird.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like something that feels somewhere between a basement and a like hi-fi recording studio.
I love that. Yeah.
That's kind of like the cut. I also think like some way to listen to music, like not your own music, some way to listen to songs loudly, to me is an important part of the process, because like, I think it's inspiring just to listen to other stuff and be like, yeah, that's cool. I love that. I love the attitude there. I love the way the guitar is interacting with the glockenspiel or something like that. But also as a way to quickly communicate, if you're not engineering yourself, you know, to quickly communicate to somebody, like just as a shorthand. I mean, we could sit here all day and I could try to describe James Gadsden's drum sounds, but like there's no amount of words that can replace just being like, dig this, and just hit play, and you're like, okay, yeah, got it. Yeah.
I love that. That's true. Let's go ahead and transition to record collecting. A lot of the people on the line are big vinyl enthusiasts. I know you guys get a lot of records, right? But what I'd love to know is, what are the records that you're going for when you're on the road? And where are the best regions, the cities that you found to dig for records?
I mean, you know, I joke about this. It's like, I think I've owned about 4 or 5 record collections throughout the years. And for whatever reason, when I move and stuff, I always gave them away, you know, because there was a period where I just collected, you know, dub records, you know, or, you know, just a bunch of swing records or stuff like that. Just stuff that you find everywhere, stuff like that. But I mean, lately I've been like, you know, now that people are I see some people's kind of collections and the tunes that I wish I had on vinyl, actual vinyl. You know, I've been collecting a lot more. And then now that even though, because this last weekend we did this, the Chicano Legends, whatever, cruise tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody who is everybody in that kind of old, you know, 60s garage rock and roll East LA scene was on that boat. So I had like a vinyl. Actually, I got it right here. I think, hold on. It's like I put it together in my head. It's like, man, I'm literally, you know, and some of these guys are like, oh, you're Joey. Like, you know, I've heard about you. And like, they're trying to take pictures with me, but I'm like, no, sir. Like, can you please sign this, you know? So I was just a big nerd the whole weekend. So I got this El Chicano, which is, you know, formerly the VIPs from East LA.
Whoa.
And I got it signed by the bass player and Mickey, you know, Mickey the guitar player. And it was just like a kind of a surreal thing to put the soloist and the bass player on the biggest tune of my childhood, you know, and have them sign the record and have them trip out and like, wow, where did you find this? And you know, I find stuff like every time I look for stuff, it's usually in that kind of like sentimental kind of feel that reminds me of a certain time in my life. And a band that inspired me, War Records are big ones, and of course anything Rocksteady, anything from Jamaica, anything Beverly, you know, or Studio One, Treasure Isle, anything like that. I'm kind of a sucker for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's so, man. Yeah, you know, War was a big one for me too. Like, that was the first record I ever bought, like vinyl, like LP I ever bought for myself was Platinum Jazz. You know that double, that double LP. I love it.
Yeah,
man.
it's like
you know, I heard. Yeah, it was like the silver one. I heard, you know, Deliver the Word for the first time, and Slowly We Walk Together, and you know, those kinds of things, which are amazing.
Yeah.
What kinds of records do I look for? I kind of let geography kind of guide me, you know. So like, I mean, just for example, like when I'm in Europe, I'm much more likely to be looking for like Euro groove and Italian disco stuff.
Okay.
Because that's what's over there, you know. Like, I mean, also soul records too, but like for them, they're like, oh, well, this is a treasure. This is from across the pond. But a lot of the Euro groove records, they're like, this is simp trash. Why do I want this? And I'm like, this is so sick. Like, you know, and when I don't know, when I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, I might be looking for, or like Oxford, Mississippi. That's like, you find a lot of gospel there, like a lot of great gospel. You know, in LA, I feel like it's, you know, definitely the lowrider soul stuff, but they also get down with like the funk. I mean, like the slap, you know, like the funk freaks type, like funk stuff. But actually recently I was able to check one off my list in San Antonio when I came down there for Austin City Limits. I really, this one's a very special tune for me. Yeah, Peace on Earth, Love Foundation.
Okay.
It's just a really beautiful one, man. I don't know. It's got like 4 different sections of the song, and they're all, they could all be their own kind of like, oh shit, I can't believe the record has that, but they're all there. Wow. And it's just a beautiful message of, you know, I want to build our home. I want to build our house on a love foundation, which is, you know, I just think is a beautiful sentiment. So, yeah.
I love that. Let's transition to the scene, next steps, and legacy. You're both responsible for making great music that we love and you know, the sound of the scene. What can we expect? Where are you taking us with your music, and what are your goals for yourselves as musicians in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
What was the first part of the question? I'm sorry.
Just kind of know where do you want to take us with the music? You know, you've kind of set the stage for what this sound is that we know and love. But I'd love to know where you're going to take it.
Got it. You got it, Joe. Go ahead, man. Oh, I don't know. Oh, maybe it's frozen again. I'll go. I mean,
I don't really feel like that.
To me, you know, over the years of this chapter, the soul revival.
Yeah.
You know, Gabe Roth released, you know, like did that like whole shitty is pretty kind of like article that's become kind of like a reference point for, and his whole sound has become a reference point for this era of soul music.
Mm-hmm.
And not only has he personally taught, you know, help people like on the West Coast, you know, like set up studios and like, you know, teach them recording tricks, but then other people have kind of like, we've kind of cracked the code on how to make things sound like it's 1968, but like
Yeah.
it's not 1968 anymore. And so
Right.
like my hope for this scene is that we can continue to push so
Mm-hmm.
that not every 45 that comes out has the James Gadsden.
Right. Right.
You know, it's like we can do that all day, and that's great. But it's like there are so many great influences to be gleaned throughout the eras, and my hope is that people don't just try to sound like, you know, like Daptone
Right.
every day. I love Daptone, but
Yeah.
it's like it's not. We don't have to sound like that.
Okay.
We can make our own sound. It's like, you know, yeah. That's my hope, is that we continue pushing and in the true spirit of like what Curtis Mayfield was doing,
Mm-hmm.
of what Smokey Robinson was doing, of what Gil Scott Heron was doing throughout the decades. You can watch their progressions. Like Barbara Mason in the 80s wasn't making, you know, East Side Stories over and over again. It's different, it's fresh, and they
Mm-hmm.
kept pushing. So it's like we can kind of be in this 68 to 73 kind of like bubble, or we can like keep moving and make something special and define this era of music for ourselves. That's my hope.
I love that. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, exactly on that. I think you hit it right on the nail. It's just, you know, I don't think it really just, it's up to us. I don't think it really is. It is, you know, we could influence it, and we have an ability to kind of like tap into whatever's we feel, you know, artistically strikes, you know, the mood. But, you know, I go back to Bretton Wood and Moore. Like, I mean, they've nobody has sounded like them before or since, you know, like that acoustic, you know, little combo band, and, you know, the mixture of the harmonica and the tenor sax. Like, it's important to that. Like, just make a record that where you stand out and you created a sound of your own, you know. And with that, keep pushing forward and keep pushing the boundaries of that. I think that's kind of the important thing, to just kind of always look to what's next, because that's really what led us here, you know.
All true.
So,
all true.
yeah.
You've both been really active this year. Debuts, lots of singles. What can we expect next from both of you?
More shows, more singles, you know, more stories, and more. You know, I think, you know, that what's important for, especially for the Sinceres, is just, you know, to get that record out, and, you know, kind of hit the road, you know, kind of meet the rest of you know, the rest of the fucking world, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's, you know, important, just getting through that hurdle of getting that out, and, you know, just getting in the flow of making records, and getting in the machine, and getting the balance of it, and, you know, learning and meeting people from everywhere and stuff like that. I think that's what I'm looking forward to, for sure.
Now, Joey, I got to ask. Months back, we saw a Coal Mine 45 that we thought was coming out. Do you know anything about that?
Are you talking about the For You?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know if it doesn't have a release date yet, but I know they're going to be putting it. I think it's going to be a digital release. They're going to announce it soon, so
Okay.
We'll have a date for that soon. But those records, I got the test presses of them, and you approved them, so those are the first ones coming out from the plant. And, you know, as I'm sure you heard from everywhere, all the plants have been really, really crazy and stuff like that. So that's kind of the thing that's kind of setting us back a lot too. So, but we'll get to that. Like I said, once we get through that hurdle, it's on.
Great. Okay.
I just want to address a comment that says they want a Kid Bailey and Fools Gone Wild collab. They hit me up, actually. I don't like to talk about the work that I do, like the stuff behind the scenes. I don't even like to talk about projects that I'm actively working on.
Okay.
But I will say that Fools Gone Wild did hit me up and asked me to do a remix, and I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but that would be funny. I would be down. So
Love that. All right. So this is the last question as part of the Fireside chat. Where do you see yourselves in 20 years, and what do you want to be known for when it's all done and said?
Still doing it, for sure. 20 years still behind the board, still behind the pen, and you know that that I was kind of known that I wanted to help a lot of the younger musicians, because I got into this whole thing really, really young. I was blessed to be guided by a really, really big group of older guys that made me learn how to respect being in a band, and having that brotherhood with the band, and having the respect for your fellow musician as well as your fellow man, especially coming from where we come from. So it's a big deal to to be able to pass down anything, and have the studio to be open to have anybody with not enough money to come in and make a record, or if they just have an idea. Just it's important to me to be able to know that people are welcome to come in and join us and make it bigger, for sure.
That's great.
That's beautiful, man. I love that. I love that idea. It's a beautiful sentiment. I agree. Still in 20 years, I'm not trying to hang it up in 20 years, man. I'm trying to still do it. Except maybe in 20 years, then we can have the like sequin dinner jackets, the like fucking the like gator skin oldie circuit. At that point, I think we'll have earned the dinner jackets. Yeah, I mean, I almost didn't go this route at all. I almost went to graduate school to get like a degree in ethnomusicology and teach. Because I mean that's kind of what I love to do, is to just spread enthusiasm in the same way as like my dad growing up would put on records for me and then pause it and be like, yo, no, listen to how the drums, listen to that harmony. I love that. I love doing that for other people. I love when people do that for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, down the road, I would love to teach and be able to not just teach the history of the music, but like share a perspective of like what it is like when you're inside of the industry, and all the things that are beautiful about it, and the things that are very disillusioning, and just kind of bring some light to what can be a very opaque world.
Wonderful. All right, it's time for the lightning round. We'll start with Aaron first, and then we'll go with Joey. The idea is to answer as quick as you can. This is designed to let fans know about you more as a person than as a musician. So first question, LP or 45?
45s.
OG black vinyl or color
LP.
variant?
Wait,
Black.
wait, oh yeah, black as well.
Okay. What was the last 45 or LP you bought?
Stay Beside Me by Richie Valens.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it was this Peace on Earth 45 that I pulled.
Okay. You just finished a live show. What's the first thing you're going to eat afterwards?
Double, baby.
Probably, I mean, like a bottle of water, some like pretzels and hummus. I'm not going too hard with it.
Okay, all right. Favorite dessert, candy, or sweet treat?
Man, I love honey. There's this honeycomb ice cream here in town from this place called Van Leeuwen. I love it so much. Also, shouts to Wesley Bright and the Honeytones. Wesley Bright doing his thing in Akron. They always are posting like the illest like honey desserts. And anyway, yeah, I love that.
I love that.
Yeah, that sounds great. Ice cream, just simple.
Easy enough. What's one food you will not eat under any circumstances?
I like to try food. If I don't like a food, I like to give it a little time and try it again, because your taste buds change over time. You know what I'm saying? Cells die and regenerate. Like I didn't love seafood growing up because I didn't really eat it. I wasn't around it. Like we didn't eat it in my home growing up. And then I tried it when I was, a little more grown up. But oysters are pretty weird to me still. I will say oysters for now, or no.
I'd say like the chocolate, like the spicy mole, the chicken mole. My mom always made that, and I would like, no, get it away from me.
Really? I love that.
No, the sweet one, I can't do the sweet one, man.
Okay.
You got me. It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
What's one of your favorite movies?
That Thing You Do.
Oh, good one. Goodfellas. The Departed,
Yeah.
Goodfella. I'm a sucker for Scorsese.
Yeah. So Taxi
Yeah.
Driver, is that a favorite too?
Oh, I do like Taxi Driver, not as much as like I don't know, not as much as those two or Casino. I love
Okay.
Casino as well.
Casino, good. Yeah.
Last
I saw
book you
Casino
read.
way too young.
Last book you read.
You know what? There's this really really great writer that that I've heard about from from the what was it, the Supernova Scoffest, Heather Augustine. She wrote a lot of good documentaries about like a lot of like the women and Rocksteady, the women of reggae. It's the title of the book. But the last one that I recently finished, was the Don Drummond kind of biography, a little bit of by Heather Augustine. It's a good one. She's a great writer. So shout out to Heather.
Somebody shouted out Training Day, which I also love, by the way. Movies and American Gangster. I'm a huge Denzel fan, so yes, I agree. This is a book I was kind of reading through. Shouts to Jess Lipsky. It's cool to hear different people's perspectives, in the scene. And also a book of poetry called Magical Negro by Morgan Parker. That's really cool.
Okay, I need to check that out. When you're not working, what's something that you like to do for fun?
Hey, so both of the authors were little shout out. I gotta make a note. Both of the authors we shout out were both women, so shout out to you.
Love that.
That's beautiful.
Shout out to the ladies for for holding it down.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed. What was the question? What do we do when we're not working?
Something that you love to do when you're not working. Yeah.
I love to look for records. I love to listen to new music I haven't heard. I guess that's too close to work. I don't know. I like watching like Netflix.
Yeah.
I enjoy HBO. All that stuff.
So are you watching Squid Games then?
I finished it. I had to finish it before somebody ruined it for me. I know how these things go. The internet has no chill. Like, you can't sign on. It's a minefield on Instagram. If there's some shit that everybody's talking about and you haven't seen it, you have today there were more memes than the day before. Yeah. And it's just, I can tell the dam is breaking. The statute of limitations is over. So anyway, I finished it and I loved it.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I had to do the opposite. I had to watch it because the memes didn't make sense to me.
Yes, same here. Okay.
No, but I think I'm sorry. I was gonna say I think spending time. I mean, my daughter is freaking hilarious. She's a handful, and she's just the funniest thing to me. So I think rushing home to that is definitely the best thing that I can do when I get home, for sure. Getting home to the family.
Agree 100. My 4-year-old princess, same way. I got it. Okay. Let's see here. If you had a theme song, what would it be?
I feel like I thought about this, didn't I?
I'll give you a second. I feel like okay, so there's a Fela Kuti song called Great Kids. That just is really, it just makes me laugh. It makes me happy. It's just the horn melody is just kind of goofy. Mm-hmm. And it sounds to me like if somebody made a joke at the end of a sitcom and there was a freeze frame, that's what would roll, I feel like. But also
thanks.
But also we walk on stage every night. As the indications, we walk on stage to an excerpt from the Inglourious Basterds soundtrack where the bear Jew walks out with the bat for the first time. And I love that. I love that we get to walk out on stage with the spirit of bashing Nazis every day.
Love that. Very cool. All right, so for the last two, here's how it goes. I'm going to need Aaron to recommend a gospel record, and I need Joey to recommend a Rocksteady record that we should all go check out.
Okay, a favorite Rocksteady record you gotta check out. On the Beach by the Paragons, #1 for sure. You gotta check it out.
That's a super cool one. I love that. For gospel record, I'll go with this. It's a Chicago record by the sensational Jesus Gave Me Water. This is definitely like a touchstone inspiration for the Flying Stars of Brooklyn. So highly
Ooh.
recommended. Secret inspiration there.
And I love the brown paper bag sleeve. That's excellent.
I had to transfer it into a brown paper. You know it's serious when it goes in the brown paper.
That's what I was going to say next. Great. Gentlemen, that concludes the Fireside Chat, the lightning round. I want to thank you so much for making time to do this with me. Like I said, I just want to make an impact on this scene and strengthen and bring the community together. Very, very important to me. My hope is that tonight, this little sliver of history will be seen by many, many people for many, many years. And it will be known as the day that Aaron Frazier and Joey Quinones came together, the first time for a Fireside Chat. So thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Congrats on 100 streams. I feel like consistency is the key in so many parts of life. So that's no small feat. Congratulations.
Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks, man. Peace.
Take care.
Cheers. Cheers. Later, Aaron.
I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in tonight. This was an uber special 2 Gents Fireside Chat live stream. Really meant a lot to me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, all the support that you provided over the past week. I'm not slowing down. We're going to keep raising the bar. Thank you so much. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. I'm out of here.